part 3 of our series on Your Pal Charlie, things start ramping up for the Manson family. Drug deals, biker gangs, race wars, the Beatles, and some murder. This episode dives into it all. And what about Manson the artist? Will he ever get the elusive record deal? I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you came here looking for closure today, stick around. Much like when it's her time of the month, you're not getting any this week. This is Necronomipod.
Miss Tate, who starred in Valley of the Dolls, was 8 months pregnant and was found in a bikini-type nightgown with a rope around her neck attached to the body of a man.
2 bodies inside, 2 bodies outside.
Among the other victims were Hollywood hairstylist Jay Sebring and coffee heiress Abigail Folger. Authorities would allow no one in an unofficial capacity inside the posh $200,000 home in the hills overlooking Los Angeles. When police arrived, they found the telephones and electricity lines cut. The bodies had been dead about 12 hours. They were discovered this morning by a maid who ran screaming to neighbors. One officer summed up the murders when he said, "In all my years, I have never seen anything like this before."
Alas, we will not be wrapping this episode up tonight. Who'd have thought?
I thought it was going to be 5, so I don't care. 4's pretty good. How about that?
Is that what you had your money on? The over-under was 4 and you went 5?
And I don't want to hear from any Red Wings fans about my opening line. And I'm not talking about hockey, motherfuckers. you fucking heathens.
What about the boots? The Red Wing boots? That's a thing, right?
Yeah, I think that's
Hey,
is that
like
work
those.
boots?
I don't do manual labor. Or penny loafers, pal.
He has copper toe boots, not the steel toe. The penny in there.
But you got to tell the whole story, right?
How about that pussy Tom Brady, huh? He's done. That was a great performance to go out on, huh, Mike?
That pussy.
The goat.
To go out on. You act like he's done. He'll be back. He's not retired. You don't. The greatest of all time doesn't go out on a first-round loss to the Cowboys.
Okay.
He'll be back next year.
I don't think he should be. He should be done.
I mean, they made the playoffs. It's not a complete bust of a season.
Well,
They can go 3 and whatever, 19 or whatever the NFL is.
that division is garbage.
Well, spoiler alert, so was ours.
You know, I had a 5-game parlay over the weekend.
Yeah.
I hit everything except that fucking Chargers game.
Really?
You have got to be kidding me.
Who did they play?
The Jaguars came back, like 30-point deficit or whatever the fucking score was.
Yeah.
Goddamn. The fucking Jacksonville Jaguars are advancing in the playoffs and Tom Brady isn't. Just fucking nuke the world. Like, who gives a shit anymore? This fucking planet sucks. Fucking Jaguars.
This planet sucks.
Get out of here. Most irrelevant team in history. Sorry to the Khan family. It had to be said. Does anybody ever remember that they're even a team in the NFL? Like, other than not right now? Like, if you ask me the name,
I don't
like,
know. I don't actively think about them, but I'm aware they exist in the world.
if you ask the average person to list all 32 NFL teams, I bet the Jaguars are on the bottom like 7 on everybody's list. Everybody's.
Really?
I think so. Very forgettable franchise.
Wouldn't the newest franchises over the past 20, 30 years, wouldn't those come in the bottom of awareness, bottom of the list?
I'm not so sure. I guess it would depend.
Like Carolina.
Because they tend to get a lot. But Carolina came in the same time, I think, as Jacksonville. They were like relatively the same time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
But I mean,
those
like,
would be the least.
I don't know. Like the Panthers had Cam Newton for a while. They were getting headlines with that. I couldn't even tell you one player that's ever played for the Steve Berline, I think, was their first quarterback. That's the last
that's right.
Jaguar I could name.
Mark Brunell.
Brunell. Yep.
He was a quarterback? So,
Yeah.
okay. So we named 2 players in how long they've been around, 25 years. Just so I mean, like, I don't know. I just feel like in every sport, there's like that 1 or 2 franchises that you're just like, oh, I forgot they're like a team.
I think that's probably right. Pittsburgh Pirates. Like, who even knew that they had a baseball team anymore?
If it wasn't for the fact that it was Cleveland and Pittsburgh rivalry, I feel like the Pirates would be in that category.
No one thinks of the Pirates.
No.
Right.
Yeah, just one of those teams that kind of flies under the radar, doesn't really make a lot of noise, is not signing huge names. That's not to say that Cleveland makes a lot of noise, but, you know, we at least have the fact that we always suck. So people talk about us like, oh, we're at Cleveland again.
Baseball's all right, though.
Baseball's been doing good.
We were at a baseball playoff game this past year, Mike. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Don't be
no one's forgetting. No one's
Clevelander.
sleeping on the Guardians. I'm not saying that. Just saying we get remembered maybe for not so great things typically.
Sometimes.
Also, our river catching on fire twice.
Maybe it's because local assholes like you can't ever let it go and they just keep bringing it up and associating that event.
It's a delicious beer, though.
It is a delicious beer.
Burning River Ale. All right, well, I'm out.
I wanted to mention our trivia events coming up this week.
Oh, yeah.
Just want to remind people, though, that it's a ticketed event because overwhelming response to that notice we put up, so we had to pass out tickets for it. So don't just show up out of the blue. It's a very small venue, and there's just not enough seats.
We didn't know what to expect when we announced it with regards to feedback, and it's a smaller venue, and we got a lot of responses. So we had to make the decision to make it a free ticketed event where you could sign up and we would do a random lottery. And people have already been contacted. So if you've not been contacted directly by us, unfortunately, you do not have tickets at this one, but perhaps we'll do one again in the future. Maybe a bigger venue.
See how it goes.
Bigger venue for a little hangout session.
Yeah. And no, it will not be recorded or anything like that. It's just not that kind of event. So.
It's not like going to be a live show.
No, it's not a show.
I'm not even going to be on a microphone. Like, it's literally going to be like you and maybe Ian reading trivia questions, and I'm going around collecting answers.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like bits and conversation and stuff like that. It's just a trivia night. Yeah. So I think some people thought maybe they were going to be missing out on something like that. You're not, promise.
Now no one's going to show up like assholes.
So where we left off on part 3, Charlie had made friends with some very powerful people in the music industry. He recorded with Dennis Wilson from the Beach Boys a handful of times, and then got the opportunity to record at Dennis's brother, Brian Wilson's house. And from we talked about it last week, Charlie was not easy to work with, pulling out switchblades and shit. So,
isn't that what you're supposed to do to your record producer when he's trying to record a hit album for you? Pull out a switchblade.
Chance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson's personal recording studio.
I'm pretty confident that's how Prince got a record deal.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, threaten people.
And then we ended with the Beatles' White Album coming out. Dave, you brought up the question last week. How are they making money to support all of this shit?
I did ask that question.
Yeah. So
Ian's like, in short, they weren't.
they were living real good when the party was going on at Dennis Wilson's house and he was paying everything. When that party ended and Charlie and his family moved to Spawn Ranch, they needed to figure out what to do for money and stuff. Charlie was banking on being signed to a record deal. However, until then, they were getting into darker drug dealings to make money. Specifically with a biker gang, the Straight Satans, which we'll get into that later.
That was my nickname in college.
Straight Satan.
They were terrified of me. They thought I was a hard ass. It's nothing to do with sex. I was just like the campus fucking hardcore badass dude. Must have been my lack of tattoos and lack of self-confidence and my flaccid penis. Intimidated everybody.
And shitting on your front porch on your leg, right?
That was way before college. There might have been some front porch shitting, but that was not me in college.
And the Straight Satans brought in a bunch of hardcore criminals hanging out at Spawn Ranch. And George Spahn was none the wiser. He was, like we said last week, he was 80 years old, blind, and he had Squeaky taking care of him, cooking his food and stuff. And she was sexually taking care of George too, whether it was for her to stay in the house or to keep, or forced, like Charlie instructing people. There's two sides to that story, but George was happy and he really wasn't complaining.
Honestly, what more could you ask for? You're 80 and blind. This girl blows you every day and cleans your house and makes your food. Maybe a little bit of that acid too, but he's got almost everything he needs, right? Sharing the acid with him.
At this point, the story branches off in two different ways. One, the lead prosecutor, Vincent Bugliosi's theory, which was the helter-skelter theory. And two, the idea that the Tate LaBianca murders were copycat killings to throw off police, revenge for Charlie's music career not panning out, or a combination of two of those, or maybe all three of them. We're going to lay out the helter-skelter theory, which that shit really picks up on December 31st, 1968. We also need to note that this is relying pretty much solely on Manson family member Paul Watkins.
Did he flip eventually?
Yeah, he became one of the main witnesses.
Okay. So he got
Fucking
immunity?
rat. He's a rat.
I'm not sure if he had immunity.
Okay.
Next week, we'll talk about Linda Kasabian. I think she's the only one that had full immunity.
All right. Mafia Mike over there, he doesn't like rats. What do you do to rats, Mike?
Doesn't matter, Dave.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. We take care of business.
Got it.
Oh!
In this theory, Charlie had been predicting a race war between black people and white people for a long time before he started using the term helter-skelter. Helter-skelter was just used the first time on December 31st, 1968, according to Paul Watkins. Based on how Charlie talks in his book, I think this is real. I mean, he really did do this. He was paranoid about a race war. It's just, how much did he believe in it? You know?
Or was it an excuse to get to the whatever he was trying to do?
So how this goes, Charles Manson and his family would come out on top of this war, with Charlie's future album having subtle messages within the lyrics, like he supposedly heard in the White Album. This war would kick off when black men were no longer allowed to be around white women, specifically have sex with white women. This would cause an uptick in black men committing violent crimes against whites. White people would then start committing violent crimes in retaliation, to which the Black Panthers would pretty much wipe out all white people, whether they were racist or not. Charlie and his family would escape this war and wait it out in a secret city underneath Death Valley, which they would have to get through by a hole in the ground. The song Helter Skelter supposedly had coded lyrics that gave them directions out to this hole.
You know what I picture that last season of Stranger Things when they're out at that place in the desert? It's just this little door in the middle of the desert that they walk into.
That's kind of what it's described as. It's just like a little hole.
That's what I picture.
Yeah.
So he really is not taking sides in this race. He's like the Switzerland of the race war. He's just going to sit it out and let everyone kill each other.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is this supposed to overtake the whole country or just California or just...
This is the whole country.
Whole country.
Yeah.
And he thinks there's enough Black Panthers in the country to wipe out all white people?
Well, it wouldn't just be black. Like the Black Panthers would be leading it, but it would be all black people versus all
wipe
white
out all white people.
Yeah.
All right.
When this war was over, Charlie and his family would come out of the hole in the desert as the only surviving white people in the country, and black people would be happy to see them.
Yeah, I bet.
According to this this is so stupid, this next part. According to this theory, Charlie said that black people had never ran a government or anything like that, so they would be happy to see some white people again, like, hey, help us out with this. To think that if people saw Charles Manson and his family are like, thank God, I want you to run my country now.
Save us, please. We made a grave mistake.
I bet these numbnuts know how to write a constitution. Mm-hmm. Just picture these disgusting hippies walking out of a hole in the ground and everyone's like, yay, white people, we're saved.
So dumb. According to Paul Watkins, they had began preparing for Helter Skelter in the months before the Tate LaBianca murders. They worked on songs for the album, which they, thought would set off the war, and they built dune buggies for their escape from Spawn Ranch to Death Valley when the war started. A lot of dune buggies being built.
Yeah. Like scrap part dune buggies?
Yeah, like stealing cars for, to like outfit them into dune buggies and stuff.
Nice. They were going to take these all the way to Death Valley?
Yeah.
It's not that close.
Well, they
not in a dune buggy anyway.
That's where you draw the line on this plan, Dave? That's where this plan has gone too far? Like, wait a minute. The dune buggies would never make it that far.
It's got like Mad Max Road Warrior vibes.
That's what they look like.
Goofballs were driving out in the desert on dune buggies.
They found a ranch closer to Death Valley, and that was Barker Ranch.
Owned by legendary game show host Bob.
Is that right?
In my version, it is. Sometimes I go rogue in my stories. You don't know.
There was a ranch kind of next door to Barker Ranch that they looked at first, but Barker Ranch was really remote, and Charlie felt that fit perfectly to get ready for Helter Skelter.
Makes sense.
So they're bouncing back and forth between Spawn Ranch and Barker Ranch throughout most of this.
Like, were they squatters? Was it an abandoned ranch?
Yeah, that one they were not. Yeah, that was an abandoned ranch. Yeah. So they took most of the dune buggy stuff. They were kind of doing it half and half, but they would ride their dune buggies out to Barker Ranch. And
I think in the version I read, they had promised Bob, you let us stay here. We assure you we will get our pets spayed and neutered. And he was like, that's all I need to know. You can stay whenever you want.
He was real into that.
Well, yeah, of course. It was a very passionate
he was
subject for him.
Good deal on Bob's part.
Yeah. And they get to crash and all their pets are snipped.
Did Squeaky have to fillet Bob Barker, though, as part of this deal, or did she just stick with
No, he was spayed and neutered, too. So he didn't need any of that. He got that done, too. It's a promo for the show.
So let's get into the White Album and the supposed messages hidden in some of the songs.
The White Album has some weird shit on it.
Yeah, I think
some
it was
interesting songs.
One of the documentaries I watched about Charles Manson, and I think it was the one that was real focused on the music aspect, said that Charles Manson and the family, they were not the only ones to find some form of meaning in the White Album, you know, like this, that there was lots of people getting high, listening to the White Album and, you know, coming up with things, you know.
There's some good songs on there.
Yeah.
Some weird shit, but there's some good ones.
The song Honey Pie, the lyric, oh, honey pie, my position is tragic. Come and show me the magic of your Hollywood song. Charlie said that the Beatles knew that Jesus Christ had returned to Earth and he is in Los Angeles. They wanted Charlie to create his song, being his album, that would set off Helter Skelter.
Okay.
Adds up.
I can see where he pulled that out of there.
The songs I Will, Your Blues, Don't Pass Me By, and Blue Jay Way were all interpreted as the Beatles calling for Jesus Christ. Blue Jay Way appeared on the Magical Mystery Tour, the album that preceded the White Album. Charlie and his family had come to call their journey from Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco to Spawn Ranch the Magical Mystery Tour.
Ah, I see the tie-in now. That's my favorite Beatles album, Magical Mystery Tour.
Yeah.
That's good stuff there.
Okay.
I'm getting blank stares like you two have never listened to a Beatles album in your entire life.
I've listened to their greatest hits. That's it. I could not tell you a single album or what would be on it.
Yeah, I think I'm the same as him.
Fair enough.
Greatest hits is fantastic, but I've never liked the Beatles enough to kind of dive into their catalog.
Yeah.
In all fairness to all those Beatles versus Stones people, I've done the same thing with the Rolling Stones. I've done a greatest hits. I've never dove into any of their albums either.
Yeah. Not that great.
So you're Team Beatles.
I am.
I think I would be too.
Yeah, I would say Team Beatles. I don't like the Rolling Stones at all.
No.
Not even a little bit.
A couple good ones.
Yeah, I like a few of their songs, but I think I would like the Beatles more.
I was watching a clip of something the other day with, 80-year-old Mick Jagger dancing around on stage in a belly shirt. It is just the weirdest thing. It's just weird.
Rock and roll in general is a weird thing. Like, I have friends that don't like rock music or metal or anything. They're like, why are these old men acting like this? Like, this is not cool. And I understand we grew up in a culture like where you see it and you're like, this is good music. It's great. Yeah. But then I think about it like from the outside and I'm like, I remember like Lemmy used to wear like pants so tight you could see his cock. You're like, this guy's 70 years old. Like, what is cool about this?
Well, it was Lemmy, so it was though.
But it's not like I don't want to see his cock. But I get that from the outside. Like I don't know. Like Kiss is like in their 70s wearing face paint and tights and 7-inch heels. From the outside, like, this is fucking weird. Why do people do this? Like, maybe it's time like retire, go home.
Oh yeah, there's some people that should retire. Definitely the Rolling Stones.
I mean, I put them up there as probably like the weirdest. Like, and Mick Jagger's still wearing those tight ass pants too. Like,
yeah, it's just Keith Richards looks like he's dead.
mm-hmm.
They have the number of backing musicians they have to take on tour with them. I'm not even sure their instruments are plugged in anymore.
So they're still touring regularly. I mean, I haven't really.
I don't know how long ago this was. It wasn't that long ago.
But yeah, just the rock genre in general is like a free pass to be as ridiculous as you want for as long as you want.
Mm.
And just be an old man fucking thrusting your hips up there. In any other line of work that's like sexual assault or misconduct, at the very least, you're visiting HR.
You're right, though. You see a lot of these like early 80s metal bands that are back to touring now. And, they're in their 60s and they have like long wispy hair and leather.
Skullets.
Yeah, right. And leather pants. And you're like, what are you doing?
And they were on
absurd.
Like, they were on the verge of not being good in their prime.
Right.
So like now it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like James Hetfield cut all his fucking hair off. He doesn't look ridiculous. Like maybe get a haircut. You look so silly.
Yeah. Change with the times a little bit.
Yeah.
Make the effort.
That's like the fucking the Rockers, or no, the Midnight Express from wrestling, the original.
They haven't changed.
They have not changed. They have not cut their hair. They still have the mullets like back in the 80s. Yeah.
Skullets now.
It is so terrible.
Still coked out.
I saw a picture of those two, and I'm like,
steroid bellies.
It just absurd.
Yeah.
Like you guys are like 60s, 70s.
Like, is it so much to ask to go to a rock show and see the lead singer in a nice cardigan, perhaps? Playing his Les Paul. You know what? As long as the music sounds good. We saw the Eagles, Dave. They wore black suits and white shirt and tie.
Right.
And it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Agree.
They were not acting like fools. They sat on stools and just played.
Right.
It was amazing.
I agree.
They weren't pretending to be in their 20s.
Well, they were always cool, though, the Eagles.
But and maybe that's it. You change with the times.
The song Sexy Sadie, this one was just seen as proof that the Beatles were talking directly to Charlie and the Family. Remember, Susan Atkins, her nickname was Sadie. And a lot of people called her Sexy Sadie before that song came out because she was living that free love life a little harder than everyone else was.
Yeah.
USA, USA, USA.
The next one, Rocky Raccoon.
That's a good tune. I like that song.
To the Family, raccoon really meant the racist term coon. The lyrics also mention the Bible, so this is all just proof positive to them.
Whatever. Okay.
I don't even feel like I need to read the whole lyric for this. It's just the term Rocky Raccoon being
almost repeatedly.
Here. Happiness is a warm gun. Charlie took this as the Beatles were telling black people to get guns and fight white people. The lyric was, when I hold you in my arms and I feel my finger on your trigger, I know no one can do me no harm because happiness is a warm gun. Bang, bang, shoot, shoot.
Mm.
What the fuck would he have thought of Paul Stanley's love gun? I don't even want to know.
Charlie's not thinking metaphorically, I don't think, Mike, so he might not have gotten that.
I just want to know what he would have made of it.
Yeah,
Blackbird. The lyrics, Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. They took this to mean the black man is going to arise and overthrow the white man. Helter Skelter, look out, Helter Skelter, she's coming down fast. Charlie, so that turned into the saying, Helter Skelter, the race war's coming.
Yeah. Helter Skelter is a really good song.
I like that.
Until this happened, Well,
put a little damper on it, right?
Yeah.
The song Piggies, the lyrics, what they need is a damn good whacking. That just meant, that black people are going to, come down on the establishment, the man. And Revolution number 9, according to Paul Watkins, this song from the White Album is the one that Charlie talked about the most. Charlie himself said that this song turned him on to the Book of Revelations, which Charlie said, quote, predicts the overthrow of the establishment. The pit will be opened, and that's when it will all come down. A third of mankind will die.
That song's like a literal acid trip. It is wild.
Is it? I mean, based on the noises and sounds in it, I almost, when I was reading the notes, I forgot, I don't know, I got distracted. I went to the next paragraph or something, but I was going to stop and listen to the song, and then I didn't. But it sounded like it was going to be wild.
It's like John Lennon doing like weird Yoko Ono shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Is John Lennon the worst part of the Beatles? I can't stand him.
I love John Lennon.
I think I like one of his solo songs. And then I feel like every Beatles song I like, it's McCartney. It's not Lennon. I would have to go back and look, but I don't know. I don't think I'm a John Lennon fan.
He sings most of my favorites, I think.
Was that Yoko?
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
She's the absolute worst. That guy, if he wouldn't have got hooked up with that knucklehead, I don't know.
We'd be going to a Beatles reunion tour this week.
You might be. She is wild. There's that clip of John doing a duet with Chuck Berry. They're singing and then Yoko starts doing that nonsense and Chuck Berry's eyes wide. Like, what the fuck?
Instant Karma is my favorite John Lennon song.
It's a great song.
I love that one. Other than that, I don't love him. His solo stuff. I'd have to go back and look at the Beatles to see whose was whose, but I feel like it's usually McCartney. Wings. Come on, who doesn't love Wings, right?
Wings was good.
Also chicken wings. Not bad.
Those are not bad.
You had some Nashville wings recently. I've been thinking about that since you told me.
Yeah, I took down
I was going to bring it back
20
to
wings
being
the
fat
other
fucks.
day. Yeah.
All right, sorry. That was good music conversation. People are probably like, they always bring it back to fucking food.
So in the song Revolution 9, Charlie focused a lot on the machine gun fire, the oinking pigs, and the word rise. In his Rolling Stone interview, Charlie said the pig sounds followed by the machine gun fire, quote, predict the violent overthrow of the white man. When asked whether the Beatles intended that to be the message, Charlie replied, quote, I don't know whether they did or not, but it's there. It's an association in the subconscious. This music is bringing on the revolution, the unorganized overthrow of the establishment. The Beatles know in the sense that the subconscious knows.
Okay, terrific.
Right before shit started to hit the fan, we need to bring up Tex Watson in the belladonna plant, aka Deadly Nightshade. So the leaves and berries of the belladonna plant can cause hallucinations, and if in really high doses, you can suffer severe memory loss, coma, or you could potentially die. You can use the root to make tea, which you just drink a really, really small amount, and that results in an extremely realistic hallucination.
Can you get some of that? We'll dose Mike next week. Be pretty funny.
All right, I'll try it.
This story is confirmed by others, but Charlie's version, he wrote, quote,
One day, Indian Joe, a biker who often hung around the ranch, was hiking around the canyons a mile or two from the ranch houses when he stumbled upon some belladonna plants. He brought them down to the kitchen and explained to Brenda how to trim the plants, boil the roots, and make belladonna tea. The plants were potent and poisonous, and it wasn't advisable to cook them indoors because of the fumes. But Brenda trimmed the roots to about medium-sized onions and began boiling them in the kitchen anyway. Tex walked in and wanted to know what was in the pot. He was told, quote, this is what belladonna is made from. With that, he picked up a large root and started scarfing it like he was eating an apple. Before the full effect hit him, Tex caught a ride into town. That guy goes fucking hard. That is a motherfucker right there.
Further in that page of the book, Charlie talks about Brenda, like she just, because she's boiling this in a closed area where you're not supposed to, she just stumbled outside and fell on the porch and was just like laying there passed out.
Fucking Brenda.
These people. It's all like their brains have already been fried from years of acid and whatever else they're up to.
Huh.
Within a year and a half, though.
Yeah.
They're just partying nonstop.
If only fucking Ronald Reagan was around to tell them they shouldn't be doing this.
Oh.
Maybe they
Just
wouldn't have
say
done
no?
drugs.
Nancy with her just say no.
If only there was a war on drugs back then, we could have fixed them.
I mean, it's worked out so well.
Lives wouldn't have been
Sense.
lost to all of this when they do a murder.
So Tex hopped on a motorcycle, drove into LA, crashed into a car, and then got inside that car and went to sleep. He was arrested, and 3 days later, he was back on Spahn Ranch. But everyone said that Tex was never the same after this. Like, eating all that belladonna root permanently fucked up his brain.
You don't say.
And he never stopped using LSD, throughout this too. So
Also,
hallucinogens on hallucinogens.
we shouldn't skip over the fact he fucking wrecked a motorcycle into a car. Perhaps some CTE going on.
Possibly.
I think that's the least of his worries at this point.
I'm not sure.
But you never know.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe the drugs helped balance him out. We don't have another fucking Chris Benoit situation going on here.
Well, So you're saying if you get CTE, you should even yourself out with some nightshade.
Look, I'm no doctor. I'm not saying any of that. Just saying there was probably a lot going on in the situation. He had done a lot of drugs.
A ton.
But then they said when he came back from this, he was different. Was it the belladonna? Was it the belladonna mixed with a massive head injury? Just asking the important questions that nobody cares to know.
We'll probably never know, Mike. It's going to remain a
I
mystery.
think it's safe to say nobody will ever follow up on that question.
It's probably all of the above.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Why don't you write to him in prison and ask him?
Do you think he knows how to write?
He found Jesus in prison. Of course he knows how to write.
Oh, spoiler alert. Goddamn. I also didn't know he went to prison. Jeez. Okay, well, we know how this ends. Why even finish the story?
In March 1969, Charlie was expecting that music producer Terry Melcher would be coming out to Spawn Ranch and they would finalize a record contract. But Terry Melcher never showed up.
You think he's just sitting there tapping his watch every day? I know he's coming today. Where's that motherfucker at?
Terry Melcher had been out there before and watched them play some songs. In Charlie's mind, it was proof positive.
Mm-hmm.
Something was planted in his head that he was expecting Melcher to come back.
Yeah. That
Or he made himself believe.
he made himself believe, I think, that Melcher was coming back.
Melcher, when he left the last time, so like, yeah, sounds real good, Charlie.
Yeah, maybe in a week or two, we'll touch
touch.
base. Yeah, like just one of those, I want to get the fuck out of here type things.
That's exactly what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I think I say that to you guys every time we're done recording. Yeah, see you guys in a week or two. Let me know. Those outlines show up every fucking few days.
So when Melcher never showed up, Charlie is fucking furious. And it's the first time that he's looked like a failure in front of his followers, all these people. People are kind of questioning, like, the shine's rubbing off a bit with the music thing.
They're probably starving. He told them he's getting his deal. They're going to have lots of money. And
at the same time, he wasn't very happy about the Beach Boys stuff. Last week, we played that song, Cease to Exist.
Which he had, I thought, good vocals on.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good
like
voice.
I like it better than the Beach Boys version.
Yeah.
So that was sold to the Beach Boys. Charlie accepted cash and a motorcycle as payment. However, the Beach Boys changed the title, a bunch of the lyrics, and didn't credit Charlie anywhere on the album art. Charlie felt that he was owed more money, and he was ramping up the idea that they needed dune buggies and shit to get out to the desert. So he really needed that money.
But so he accepted cash and a motorcycle as payment and then assumed he was owed more money? Or because the album became a hit? Like, why does he think he's owed more money, especially if they changed fucking 90% of the song?
They say that, he signed a thing. They agreed on this. Charlie's version is, no, that wasn't the full deal. I was supposed to be given more money.
Is this, in fact, the same motorcycle that Tex wrecked, causing him to have massive CTE?
I don't know.
So the Beach Boys maintain, no, we gave him what he asked for.
And
he came back with, I was promised more.
I believe Charlie wanted the recordings from Brian Wilson's studio.
His recordings
that he did.
his master tapes, if you will.
Yeah. They still exist.
But they own them.
Right. And I read that one of the lawyers in charge of that shit said, yeah, the Charles Manson, that those recordings still exist, but there is no way in hell that they will ever be released.
Wow. That's crazy, huh?
Why not?
I don't know.
Like, especially nowadays, like if they can just make all the money off of it, because it's going to fucking make a ton.
At the time, it was all like once everything came out and people were arrested, those records, got locked away. It was like we need to like distance ourselves completely from this
I
situation.
get that.
But I don't know. They just, the lawyer said it'll never be released.
Yeah, enough time has passed, right?
I mean, everybody knows they were involved in the story now.
Yeah.
Release those tapes. Release those tapes.
Unless it's like a whole, you don't want to celebrate this guy type thing. Like, he doesn't deserve to be praised in a positive way for some art he did after what he went on to do.
I don't know. Give it some perspective. Would you release Jeffrey Dahmer albums or someone even
I'm not sure.
closer
I
in
don't know.
history?
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. But I mean, they'd make a ton of money and it wouldn't go to him. It would go to whatever record company or producer now owns those tapes.
Nobody wants the producer credit on that fucking pile of shit.
We'll do it. Cool Down Media Records presents the Lost Charlie tapes.
Oh my God.
Can
As
you
you've
imagine?
never heard him before.
We have commentary after every track. Hey, can we buy those? Declan, get my checkbook. Let's look into buying that. Let's get us an attorney to talk to.
Let's write an offer.
So we're offering you $15 for those tapes. A handsome $20.
Imagine that press release we can put out. Cool Down Media announced today they had acquired the masters of the original Brian Wilson recording session featuring good old Charlie Manson.
Can you imagine?
It's got to be some kind of a record.
Literally, it'll be on a record. It'll be on a record. Vinyl.
No, we'll do
We'll
8
sign them.
track
We'll
to be
sign them.
different.
There you go. So that 2 people in the world can listen.
So in need of money, Charlie went out looking for Dennis, but he found Dennis's agent. Charlie pretty much just burst into this guy's office demanding the money. And Dennis's agent told Charlie the payment would be coming, just have patience. And Charlie said that he wasn't waiting anymore. He said every time he talked to anybody with this, regarding any of the music stuff, it was always, we'll talk next week. It'll be a couple days. Charlie said, quote, "You know what, man, you owe me the money. It's a long overdue bill. Just pay up or I'm going to have to do something that might make you regret it. Like one of these nights you might go home and see nothing but charred embers where your house was."
Sounds like a stupid thing to say to an attorney.
Yeah, this guy pretty much told him to get fucked, like get out of my office. So Charlie went looking for Terry Melcher. Charlie had been to Terry Melcher's house on at least one occasion for a party. We talked about that last week. So Charlie went to 10050 Cielo Drive. As Charlie walked up to the main house, he was met by Shiro Katami, an Iranian photographer who had become friends with Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate during the making of a documentary film called Mia and Roman. He was there to photograph Sharon Tate before she left for Rome the next day. Seeing Charlie, Hatami went out onto the front porch to ask him what he wanted. Charlie said that he was looking for Terry Melcher, and Hatami told him, "I don't know who that is. This is the Polanski residence." He told Charlie to try the back alley, which meant the path to the guest house behind the main house. Sharon Tate walked up behind Hatami in the house's front door and asked him who was there. He said that a man was looking for Terry Melcher, and he and Sharon Tate stood there and watched while Charlie went to the guest house and walked back to the front a minute or two later and left. That evening, Charlie went back to the house and again went to the guest house. He walked into the enclosed porch and talked to Rudy Altobelli. Remember from last week, he was the owner of the house. He was in the entertainment business, music and movies and stuff. He had just come out of the shower. Charlie asked for Terry Melcher, and Altobelli told Charlie through the screen door that Terry Melcher had moved to Malibu, and he said he did not know his new address. Altobelli told Charlie he was leaving the country the next day, and Charlie said he'd like to talk to him about Terry Melcher when he got back. Altobelli said, "We're not going to be able to do that when we're gone for more than a year." But he asked Charlie to not bother the tenants in the main house anymore. Altobelli and Sharon Tate flew together to Rome the next day, and Sharon Tate asked him whether, quote, that creepy looking guy had gone to see him at the guest house the day before.
It's amazing, these small steps that, lead to this end result. No Terry Melcher, no Sharon Tate murder.
And he moved out. This was, he was just renting that house.
Yeah.
On July 1st, 1969, Tex Watson came up with a plan to buy a huge amount of weed. with his on-again, off-again girlfriend named Luella.
He was just trying to like kill the grass and wanted to throw a bunch of weeds down.
Yep.
That's an odd thing to do. But I guess when you're doing LSD and acid and have CTE,
Belladonna root.
you know what he was doing.
Then they would turn around and sell that weed to make money for the Manson family. The deal was for 55 pounds of weed for $2,500, which Tex would allow Luella to keep 6 pounds for herself if she could come up with the cash to make the initial purchase and help him sell off the rest.
So you could buy $45 pounds of weed in the late 60s?
I don't know. What's $2,500 in today's money?
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, Brain Man. You usually know this shit. Dave's our numbers guy. Usually has this all figured out.
I usually look it up beforehand, but I didn't.
Well, this
I
is
didn't
included
think to do this one. 21 grand.
So 21 grand for 55 pounds of weed.
Yeah. So was it about 9 times? 8 times? Still, that's still $350 pounds. Like, that's pretty cheap, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm straight edge. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, this plan doesn't even sound great right off the bat.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I mean? Like, I guarantee Tex did not think this out more than 20 to 30 minutes, probably.
The photos you showed us before we started of Tex. They're you when we're on page 6 of an outline and Dave starts doing a voice. Like, just laughing it up, having the time of your life, not realizing what state you're in. I mean, like, literally, like, geographically, like, you don't know what state you're in is what I would be willing to bet sometimes.
Am I back in Texas?
So Luella didn't have the cash, but she knew someone who did and who would likely want to take the rest of the weed so that they could each take their cuts, which was 6 pounds each for free, and supply the rest to the person she knew would have the money, and his name was Bernard Lotzapapa Crow. He was a very large, intimidating drug dealer. Think the guy who ran the brothel in Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, that dude. You know what else that guy? He was the trucker in the Rob Zombie Halloween remake that Michael beat to death in the stall. Remember that guy? That's the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
I try to forget the remakes, the Michael or the Rob Zombie ones.
He's like in his trucker jumpsuit and he's just in the stall and he's knocking on the doors. I'm trying to rub one out in here, fellas. Stuff, whatever he says to him.
That's more of an accurate description of.
I remember that.
Lotzapapa. Yeah. He had like the afro with the part. And stuff.
Yeah.
It looked a lot like that, dude.
Yeah. Lotzapapa. That's a cool nickname.
Once Luella introduced Crow to Tex, Bernard Crow decided that he would be driving the two where they needed to go for the deal because Crow could tell that Tex was a fucking idiot. Like, I'm not trusting this person. And Crow kept Luella in his black Cadillac with his 2 bodyguards as collateral until Tex returned with the weed. The group drove to a location, and as Tex exited the vehicle and received the cash, he left to meet his dealer, and he never came back. Tex did not have a dealer. Tex didn't give a fuck about Luella. He already knew what he was going to do here and just ripped them off.
So there wasn't even a deal to begin with. He was just taking the money and running.
Yeah.
Smart. Because Lotzapapa sounds like a guy who would just be like, oh, okay, easy come, easy go. Exactly. That Tex rascal stole my money.
Bernard Crow knew that Tex was staying at Spawn Ranch, and before Tex even got back to Spawn, Crow was on the phone calling. Manson family member Thomas Whaleman, who went as TJ, answered the phone. Remember, Tex's real name is Charles, and Crow didn't know him by Tex. He knew him as Charles, so he immediately was like, when TJ answered the phone, Lotzapapa was like, motherfucker, put Charles on the phone right now. Mm-hmm. And so TJ's like, okay, I don't know anyone other than Charles Manson. Yeah. So he handed the phone. So he handed the phone over to Charles Manson, and Crow's like, you better get back here with your money or I'm going to fucking kill your girlfriend. And Charles Manson was like, hey, man, I don't even know what
Chill out, man.
I don't know what you're talking about. But I'll come over and sort it out with you. Like, there's no need to kill anybody's girlfriends or anything like that.
Just a swell thing to do. I wouldn't have done that. I'd been like, what the fuck are you talking about, asshole?
That's big balls. Like, all right, Lotzapapa, I'm on my way over, motherfucker.
But the way he even did it, like, you don't have to kill anybody. I'll come over. We'll figure this out.
We got it.
We'll work through it together. They certainly got through it somehow.
I'd be like, no, there's no Charlie here. Charlie?
I think he moved.
The other threat that lots of Papa was making is like he knew that they were at Spawn Ranch. So he was also threatening that he was going to just come there with his people and just kill everybody. He was like, I'll just kill everybody there if you don't give me my fucking money. So Charlie was kind of forced to go sort this out.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he didn't really have an option.
So he's not so swell after all. I'm starting to think Charlie's not a nice guy. With aspirations of being a music star. Sounds like a piece of shit. Kind of. We'll see.
He's got some dopes around him. Tex is the impetus for a lot of all this nonsense. He's such a dope.
I'll give my final thoughts at the end. We'll see.
Okay, sure.
We'll see how the story changes me.
Well, we'll see you in 4 weeks.
I'll give Ian, 4 more weeks when we get to the end of this thing. In March, I'll give you my final answer.
TJ drove Charlie to Crow's. And once inside, it was Bernard Crow, his 2 bodyguards, Luella tied up on a couch, TJ, and Charlie with a .22 buntline revolver in the back of the waist of his jeans. After a whole bunch of arguing and threats and things getting really heated, Charlie pulled out the .22 and fired, but it just clicked. Bernard Crow grabbed Charlie by his throat and held him up against the wall, like Charlie's feet just dangling, because this guy's more than a foot taller than Charles Manson.
I bet it's not a good feeling when you hear the click.
No.
And you don't hear the gunshot. You're like, I'm 5'2" or whatever he is. And
Charlie said that that Bernard Crow just held him there and started choking him. It was like, I'm going to strangle you with my bare hands. And Charlie had the gun pressed up against his stomach and just kept pulling the trigger over and over again. Finally, the gun went off, shooting Crow in the stomach, to which Bernard Crow fell down and passed out. At that point, the 2 bodyguards backed off and Charlie escaped with TJ and Luella.
I find it extremely odd that Crow nor his bodyguards had any guns. Like, what? They were showing up and now Charlie pulls a gun and the bodyguard's like, oh, hey, man, we didn't expect this. Like, we thought we were going to beat you with our bare hands.
Yeah, it doesn't
We have no
add up,
guns available. It's very weird. Like, as he's pulling the trigger and Crow is choking him, wouldn't the bodyguards be like aimed and pointed at his head?
or pull it out of his hand at least.
Or do something.
Yeah.
But then they shoot him and they back off. Oh, we didn't expect this. Who brings guns to a drug deal?
They brought Bernard Crow into trial to testify to this story, which is interesting because the media, like the news, interviews him and stuff. And it's like, oh, we're forgetting the part there he had a woman tied up and was fully going to kill her.
Right.
You know?
He's not an innocent person here. Yeah.
But then the news back then were, they interviewed him like, oh, he's a witness in the Charles Manson.
How did you feel when Charles Manson was threatening you, lots of Papa?
Yeah, it was weird to see them talking to him like that. Like,
that's an interesting,
he was going to murder that woman. The next day on the news, there was a story about the body of a Black Panther member being dumped at the hospital. Charlie fully thought that he had killed Bernard Crow. And now with this news, he was like, fuck, I just killed a Black Panther. They know we're out here at Spawn Ranch because lots of Papa was threatening to kill everybody out there. Now the Black Panthers are coming there to fuck us up. The crazy thing about Bernard Crow is Charlie thought that he killed Bernard Crow all the way up until the trial.
Funny.
He thought that this was all accurate all the way up until Bernard Crow came in to testify.
Imagine that shock.
So this made his paranoia go through the roof. He made sure that all the members of the family knew how to shoot guns. Everyone had knives on them at all times. He started doing these things that he called creepy crawls, where they would break into someone's house and just move around items, not really don't steal anything, but just kind of break in and fuck around with stuff. He pitched it as creepy crawls, so it's got this fun term to it. He's been accused of that it was just to like train them
Trial run
to be able to break in places.
Makes sense. We should do a creepy crawl at Mike's house.
You can come in and move stuff around. It's all right. I mean, I'll see you on the cameras I have in my front and backyard, but I'll kayfabe
That's
it.
the challenge, to creepy crawl and evade your cameras.
Okay. Do some Ocean's 11 type shit.
That's right. I'm going to cut the cord to your camera. How about that?
No,
I'm going to unring your bell.
I want you to go.
Boom.
I want you to go further. Like, I want you to edit it so that it's just like that cut of like just a clean backyard.
Put the loop in, so
yeah,
you
like
can't
the
even
loop
see
that they
it.
did on like the what they do in the vault, right? In
Yeah.
Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Do that. Don't do that amateur fucking
Okay.
cut a cord. If you're gonna work a worker, work a worker.
At this point, too, they were out at Barker Ranch. So really out in the middle of the desert, completely isolated. And Charlie was getting really mean. Everybody said that as soon as this happened, everything stopped being, free love. Everything is, peaceful. The helter-skelter shit was getting pretty fucking weird, like that race war stuff, but nothing was like abusive or violent or anything. And he became very abusive towards women, very violent. There's some, there was some talk of rape, things like that. He went like full cult leader as soon as
Real quick.
Yeah, as soon as they got out to the desert, it was all that negative cult leader stuff. Jim Jones, sexual assault, violence, all that stuff. And it kind of happens overnight with them. Like it just goes 0 to 100 as soon as the lots of Papa thing happened.
How do you explain that? It's because he thinks it's imminent now that this race war, they're going to come out and look for him. So he's just manic, ramping up.
Maybe. He fully 100% believed that the Black Panthers were coming to just kill all of them. That he fucked up by doing that.
Yeah, I'd be scared too.
A couple weeks after the Lots of Papa incident, the Manson family found themselves in trouble with that biker gang we talked about at the beginning, the Straight Satans. The family had become friends with a guy named Gary Hinman. Gary Hinman had been working on a PhD in sociology at UCLA. He was a big political activist, a piano teacher, and on the side, he was running a mescaline lab out of his basement. The next part of this it's muddy like most of this story, but Gary Hinman was really a mescaline dealer. It's just debated on why exactly the family killed him. Gary sold some mescaline to Charlie. Then Charlie sold it to the Straight Satans. Not too long after, guys from the Straight Satans came back to the ranch saying that their customers got sick. Like, this is a bad batch of mescaline. We want our money back. Charlie said, sure, give me it back. I'll take the mescaline back to Gary, see what's wrong with it, and get another batch. Straight Satan says, well, we can't do that. We threw all of it away. To which Charlie was like, that's not how drug deals work. Like, you could have just fucking sold that to people. You're not getting your money back.
Threw it away.
After the Straight Satans left, Charlie sent Mary, Sadie, and family member Bobby Bousselet to talk to Gary about that batch of mescaline. The other version of why they went to Gary's, according to Sadie, Charlie thought that Gary Hinman was rich, so he sent them over to convince Gary to join the family and give them all his money that Charlie, for some reason, thought Gary had inherited. Regardless of why they were there, on July 25th, Mary, Sadie, and Bobby went to Gary's, and the three of them held Gary hostage for 2 days while he denied having any money. Over the course of those 2 days, Charlie came over to the house to try and get Gary to give over the money. At one point, Charlie cut Gary across his ear and face with a sword, but Gary still said he didn't have any money, and he was telling the truth. Charles Manson's version about the sword is absolutely ridiculous. He says that he was given a Japanese sword somewhere down the line. I think someone from the Straight Satans gave him a Japanese sword. So he knew that Gary was into Japanese swords, so he brought that with him.
Oh.
To maybe try and, give it to Gary as a gift and struggles and things. Yeah, he ended up getting cut in the face with it.
Oh, interesting.
I'm pretty sure he just took a knife over there and cut him in the face. That's what Bobby Bousselet said. And Sadie and everybody else.
Charlie's like Beatrice, and he flew to Okinawa and got a Hattori Hanzo sword specifically made for him. That's what he used to cut him.
At that point, Bobby Bousselet said that he was ordered by Charlie to kill Gary. Bobby stabbed Gary to death, then used Gary's blood to write "Political Piggy" on the wall and to draw a panther paw to make it look like this was done by the Black Panthers.
Clever. A misdirection.
setting up
Swerve.
setting up Helter Skelter, inching it a little closer.
Right.
After the Gary Hinman murder, Charlie took a truck from Spahn Ranch and headed to Northern California because he wanted to get away from everything. And that's true. He really did that because he picked up a new member during this trip named Stephanie Schramm. Charlie was at a gas station and saw Stephanie go into a bathroom, and he hung around until she came out and started a conversation with her and started hitting on her. And he was like, "Who are you here with?" And Stephanie told him that she was with her boyfriend, which her boyfriend was sitting at the other gas pump in his car. And Charlie was like, "Well, why don't you ditch your boyfriend? Like, he's a fucking loser. Come with me." And Stephanie just hopped in the truck with Charlie.
Fucking some move like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, pretty
The
much.
chicks at the burger joint.
Plus,
It did not work for him, but
no.
okay.
She's joining the family just in time for all the good parts, right?
She skipped the appetizers, went right
That's
to the main
right.
course.
So Stephanie hopped in the truck with Charlie, and he writes about it like they just had this kind of road trip adventure for a couple days. They were, having sex out in the desert, like under the stars and stuff, dropping acid on their way back to Spahn Ranch.
Sounds great.
On August 6th, 1969, Bobby Bousselet was arrested while driving one of Gary Hinman's cars. He killed him, but he's driving around in one of his cars.
Smart. Yeah.
And the knife he used to kill Gary with was hidden in the tire well.
Smart.
Master criminals, all these guys.
According to Charlie, he got back on August 7th, 1969 with Stephanie Schramm, which is true. But in Charlie's version, his core group of followers, so Sadie, Big Patty, hit him with the news right off the bat that Bobby had been arrested.
Right after he got out of the car, I picture him like Kramer, like, whoa!
However, they said that they had a plan. The family could commit more murders that looked like Gary's murder to make the police think that the killer is still out there. Like they got the wrong guy and they would just let Bobby go. The murders would be committed in a wealthy white neighborhood, so it'd kind of be a twofer. Bobby would get out and Helter Skelter would start. They'd keep inching that closer. At that point, Charlie found Tex and he said, "I killed lots of Papa because of the shit that you got me in. You owe me one. Go with the girls, help them commit these murders." And then Charlie told them to do whatever Tex said to do. He said that when he found Tex to tell him this, Tex was just sitting there drumming on his knees. No music. Tex was just sitting there.
Derp, 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 derp.
He was just sitting out in the silence outside, just drumming away.
He's living his best life.
Whatever music was going on in Tex's head.
Probably Kokomo.
The prosecution and other family members say that when Charlie was hit with the news of Bobby being arrested, he was like, "Fuck this. We need to kick off Helter Skelter now," and ordered them to go to 10050 Cielo Drive. Charlie told them to take 2 changes of clothes, kill everybody in the house, and make it as gruesome as possible, and, quote, leave a sign, something witchy.
So he wasn't necessarily thinking Melcher would be there. It's just a house he knew the address, right? In a wealthy white neighborhood. And it's probably the first thing that popped in his head.
Yeah.
There was no thought going into it.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
Mm-hmm.
He says that he didn't tell them to take the clothes and what exactly to do. He said, like, you go help them with their plan, Tex. They listen to you. I don't want to know anything else. Don't tell me a thing about this. I don't want any involvement with it. This is he always says everything's a trip. So he'd be like, this is your trip. This isn't what I'm doing.
Like setting up plausible deniability for the future.
Yeah. But but in his book, he does admit to saying, leave something witchy. He's like, yeah, I said leave something witchy behind.
I meant incense, man.
On the night of August 8th, 1969, Sharon Tate, who was 8.5 months pregnant, was entertaining some friends while her husband, Roman Polanski, was in Europe working on a movie. Her friend and former romantic partner, Jay Sebring was like one of the most popular hairstylists in LA at the time. Roman Polanski's friend, Wojciech Frykowski, and his girlfriend, Abigail Folger, heirs to the Folger coffee fortune. Just after midnight on August 9th, 1969, Tex, Sadie, Patty, and new member who had only been there a month, Linda Kasabian, arrived at 10050 Cielo Drive. Together, they climbed a telephone pole that was in the front entrance of the house and cut the phone line. Then they backed their car toward the bottom of a hill that led to the house and walked back up. They thought that the gate could have an alarm, so they climbed over an area full of bushes that still led down into the property. Like it was a sloped kind of wooded area.
Mm-hmm.
That I guess you wouldn't think that somebody would climb through there, but
you could find good aerial shots of the whole property to see what you're talking about.
Yeah. All of a sudden, they saw headlights coming toward them from within the property, and Tex told the girls to hide in the bushes. Tex stepped out of the bushes and stepped in front of the car. Inside was 18-year-old Stephen Parent. Stephen was visiting his friend, William Garrettson, who was the caretaker of the property. Tex pointed a .22 at Stephen, the same one used to shoot lots of Papa, and Stephen started begging Tex to not shoot him. Tex instead attacked Stephen with a knife, leaving brutal defensive wounds on the palm of Stephen's hand, like cut his hand in half. As they fought for a brief moment in the front of Stephen's car, Tex shot him 4 times in the chest and abdomen, killing Stephen in the front seat. Tex then ordered the girls to help push Stephen's car with his body inside farther up the driveway out of sight.
Boy, talk about wrong place, wrong time, man.
Just high school,
Holy
right out of
shit.
high school kid, just trying to hang out with his friend.
Oh,
Didn't even, no relation to Sharon Tate or Roman Polanski at all.
if he had been 10 minutes earlier, 10 minutes later. So no one heard the gunshots inside or anything?
Not inside. I mean, I don't know about inside because no one's alive.
No one survived the tele.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Yeah.
There's people in the surrounding area that heard gunshots,
All right.
which some people called him in, some didn't. They thought, whatever, and went back to sleep. After that, Tex cut the screen of a window and told Linda Kasabian to keep watch down by the gate. So she walked over to Stephen Parent's car and waited. Tex removed the screen, entered through the window, and let Sadie and Patty in through the front door. He whispered to Sadie, which woke up Wojciech Frykowski, who was sleeping on the living room couch. Tex kicked him in the head, and when Frykowski asked him who he was, "What are you doing here?" Tex replied, quote, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business."
Wasn't that a similar line in Devil's Rejects used like that?
Bill Moseley. I was just thinking that, yeah.
Is it the same line or is it
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Tex then told Sadie and Patty to find everyone else in the house, to which they did and forced everyone into the living room. Tex started to tie Sharon Tate and Jay Seaspring's necks together with a rope that he had brought, then threw it over one of the living room ceiling beams. Jay Sebring yelled at Tex like, "Don't throw her around like that. She's 8.5 months pregnant." And in response, Tex shot him in the abdomen. Abigail Folger was taken back up to her room to get her purse, which she was begging, "I'll give you whatever money I have." And she gave them $70. That's all she had on her. Tex then stabbed Jay Sebring 7 times, killing him. He was stabbed 4 times in the front and 3 in the back, and one wound that was considered fatal, penetrating into his left lung. 1 superficially in the left shoulder, and 1 slicing wound on his hand, which was a defensive wound. Wojciech Frykowski's hands had been tied with a towel, but he untied himself and started fighting with Sadie, who stabbed at his legs with a knife. He fought his way out of the front door and onto the porch, but Tex caught up with him, struck him over the head with the gun multiple times, stabbed him 51 times, and shot him twice. That is a lot of stab wounds.
You can see the autopsy photos, and it's a lot of stab wounds.
Yeah.
A lot.
Can't wait to get home and Google those.
There's a lot of crime scene photos and stuff. They're not great.
Yeah, they're gruesome.
Yeah, they're pretty gruesome.
Linda Kasabian said that she heard, quote, horrifying sounds. So she started to walk up toward the house from where she was hiding by Stephen Parent's car. Linda said that she lied and told Sadie that she heard someone coming. And Linda said that she lied because she wanted the murders to stop.
A little late, Toots, huh?
Should have thought of that a while back. Inside the house, Abigail Folger got away from Patty and ran out of a bedroom door that led outside to the pool. Patty chased her and caught Abigail on the front lawn, where she stabbed her and tackled her to the ground. Tex saw Patty fighting with Abigail and ran over to help Patty kill her. Together, they stabbed Abigail Folger 28 times, 4 to her face, 5 to her neck, 4 to her chest, and another 15 wounds throughout her body, like her arms and legs. And 90% of these were like stab in, not slashing. These are like stabs, so like in your face, stabbed.
Deep.
Yeah. Back inside the house for a final time, Sharon Tate begged to be allowed to live long enough to give birth and offered herself as a hostage. Like, take me, do whatever you want. Just let me live long enough to give birth, and then you can kill me or do whatever. But both Sadie and Tex stabbed Sharon Tate 16 times, killing her. At the beginning of these murders, Charlie told them to leave something witchy behind, so Sadie wrote pig on the front door and Sharon Tate's blood as they left. And that's where we'll pick back up on part 4. Part 4, we'll get into the LaBianca murders, how they got caught, the trials, and then all that MK Ultra stuff.
And then in part 5, we'll get into...
Where are they now?
Yeah. And in part 6, where are they now revisited?
We'll go through each individual parole hearing that's occurred since
Sadie. Is it Sadie that holds the record?
like the longest incarcerated female in California.
Yeah, and I think she also has, it's either her.
Motherfucker. You named your phone Sadie?
That was weird. Siri responded to that.
I think it's either her or Patty have the most parole hearings
in California history.
Mm-hmm. Just keep getting denied.
For females.
Yeah, females. Mm-hmm.
Hope you had fun.
Sirhan had to be getting up there at some point. The record.
Yeah.
Not a female, though.
It's weird how the story turned so fast.
Yeah, they were goofballs and whatnot, but not really causing too much harm. And then
a bunch of dumb hippies doing too many drugs, getting into some tomfoolery.
Yeah.
And then like the end of like the last page and a half of this was like, oh, by the way, shit's about to get real.
Yeah, as soon as the Lots of Papa thing happened.
But even that one you can maybe justify a little bit. Like maybe they were going to save a girl and, you know, then shit popped off. Okay. And then they go to this house. And then it gets evil.
Yeah.
Real quick.
The motive is debated, you know. Like you said earlier, this is the first house he thought of. There's, you know, people that think that he was looking for Terry Melcher.
I don't know why he would be, right?
Sent them there. Well, because he burned them on the...
No, but I mean, he's been told numerous times
unless
he doesn't live there anymore. You don't think he didn't believe him?
Maybe.
He's like, I know that fucking guy's still there.
Right.
Go to that house. Yeah, I guess that makes sense too.
Yeah, we'll get into that next week. But there's a bunch of different, I guess, things you'll probably never know about this case.
Yeah.
With the motive and stuff.
Well, it's all from that one eyewitness account, right?
Pretty much,
Most of this that we just talked about.
Yeah, Sadie said a bunch of stuff to a grand jury, then like kind of recanted all that and went off the rails with the trial. And then she wrote a book later in life and kind of admitted to more. But you think with all the acid that they were doing and how long it's been, recollections are not great.
Right.
How much of their remembrance is just based on what they read and what they hear about and what other people say.
Tex wrote a book as well. I didn't read it, but
I want to read that one.
I can't imagine he remembers anything very well.
Can you imagine if it was just like an autobiography, but nothing about the Manson family? Like he just wrote this book about like living in bliss and like happiness, good times.
He has no idea why he's in prison.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm here. I think I sold some drugs to some wrong people and life is good. Did you guys listen to that White album? It's fantastic. So we just took a little hiatus to watch the premiere of this Dana White slap fight show on TBS.
Yeah, there's no way to kayfabe it. I don't remember what we stopped talking about.
You finished the outline.
Well, yeah. I know. I just thought we were talking about some stuff. I don't know.
I don't remember because I feel like I've got CTE after watching this shit.
Brutal.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like, at least wrestling is entertainment.
There's some characters, man.
These are people knocking the fuck out of each other.
That's wild.
And, like, they don't explain what the rules are. I don't know what the rules are.
This country's not dumb enough. We need some more, CTE head injuries walking around.
This is legitimately one of the times, like, watching this, I'm like, I kind of feel bad I'm American right now. Like we have this hot dog eating contest and fucking pizza eating contests and pierogi eating contests and whatever the fuck else you want to do. Okay, we're gluttonous. I get it. Now we're legitimately giving each other concussions and celebrating it, like round by round. They said those motherfuckers went 27 rounds slapping each other.
Is that sanctioned by any gaming board?
Yeah, that referee.
I'm sure it's in Las Vegas, right?
The referee that was just refereeing was Jason Herzog. He's a UFC rep. He's a
But
with the Nevada Commission. Like he referees UFC fights and stuff.
But does that mean this slap
sport
fighting
itself.
is sanctioned, or does that just
I
mean they
believe
can
so.
hire anybody to come do like a gimmick?
I believe it's sanctioned.
It's got to be Nevada, right? We'll have to look
Yeah.
further
Well,
into this.
Wow.
Dana was saying they were out in Vegas.
Yeah, of course. It has to be.
What else? That is insane. That is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Whew.
Like, again, I know wrestling's ridiculous, but at least it's entertainment. This is meant to be real life. And it is. Like, I don't know how you fake that. What the
that was real.
fuck? So when were you doing cool down media slap fights? Because I want to see people get knocked the fuck out.
All right, that was quite a story today. It's interesting. I didn't know a lot of this back stuff, so happy to be learning some.
Clearly I didn't. So
Yeah.
learning a lot today. Last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's a really muddy story. It's all over the place. Everybody, like we were talking about, like Tex has a book, Sadie has a book. Everybody has a book. Everybody has a version.
Right.
So
Of course they do.
I think this is the one that, at least to me, is very coherent. It makes the most sense.
You and I have been doing this week?
Tell us.
Been watching a lot of Charlie Chaplin.
Really?
Yeah. I found some it's on HBO Max. They got a bunch of movies.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't seen them since I was a kid. My dad was a big fan.
All right. That's fun.
So I've been doing some of that. Modern Times, I think, is my favorite.
Okay.
Anybody out there looking for some Charlie Chaplin? Some silent film era. Mike's doing an intellectual.
Look at you.
Some quiet black and white.
I've never seen one before.
I was
It's
watching one last night. I started at 11 o'clock. I don't know why. And I was up for till 12:30, legitimately laughing out loud at some parts.
Really?
Legitimately. But I don't know. I like that kind of comedy, that humor, and, you know,
Yeah, some of that stuff's
that's
real
good
funny.
stuff. Legitimately and I was like, I didn't I was like, oh, I'll put it on for a half hour, then I'll fall asleep or turn it off. Nope, couldn't do it. Good stuff.
Cultural differences going on last night. You watching Charlie Chaplin. I was watching Vince McMahon.
Do what?
It was a continuation of the Val Venus.
Oh, okay. Choppy.
Well, Terry Rollins is pregnant now.
Oh, ooh,
Yeah, so-
get into good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in all fairness, I was just over here watching slap fights, so clearly I am no better than anybody else.
Well, Mike and I went to Hamilton this weekend.
We did a culture. That was your
Very
term.
culture.
In all fairness, we did a culture. I fucking loved it. It was so good. I wanted to see it for so long. Finally, I got to go.
Ian's not big on the musicals and will not join us for these outings.
Yeah. I
Well,
love it.
in all fairness, though, if Val Venus had just impregnated Terry Reynolds, would you leave the house? Not sure I would.
I went to the Office one with you guys.
That was good.
That's true. You
Yeah.
did.
Look at us being cultured individuals.
That was fun.
All right, so we all got a bunch going on. But anyways, if anyone wants some Charlie Chaplin, I didn't know there was on HBO Max. They had a bunch of.
I didn't
movies up
either.
there
I
now.
want to watch some of that.
Yeah, Modern Times is my favorite.
All right.
Anyways, Dave, what do we got from Patreon?
Thank you to new patrons Jackie Hewitt, Ben Ware, Pamela Ancana, Jackie, Chris O'Boyle, Cooper Huckabee, Brianne Spangler, Alexis, Amanda Gwindon, Tom Justison, Deanna Murdoch, Oscar 194, Kelsey Desarn, Nathan Kennington, Amy and Indy, Wayo, Bryce Lonkar, Frank Ryan, Sharon Brooks, Carolyn Beagle, Ellie Stinky Feets.
No thanks.
It's probably your husband. Take a shower, Ellie. Corey Shepard, Alex, Kanan Domini, Cadillac, Skylar Duffy, Andy Lovo, Hannah Stoddard, Brian is Cool, Laurel, Jennifer Daly, Do More Weeds Than Ian. So you think.
Yeah. Challenge accepted, motherfuckers.
Crystal T, Amanda Thomas. We live in a Tom Brady Madden simulation, and when he retires, we're all going to die. Do you agree with this, Mike?
It's the smartest thing I've heard all night.
Jules, Laura Adamovich, Ariana Ray, Destiny, Queen Dirtbag, Safa A, Frederick Verbelin, Bree Allen, and Jennifer Prusky. Thank you so much to these new patrons.
Ian, what do you got?
For iTunes, I have one for your spouse is at Mike's house.
That's pretty good.
Heidi Tada, Chandler Brink, Hippie Hemming Wizard, Nessa Marie 311, Rachel Murphy, and Necronama Mama. Thank you guys for the awesome reviews.
We got across the border, Dave.
Any international reviews, Mike? Wen Skewacy from Australia and Jimbo123456 GCCDTV, also from Australia.
That's a mouthful.
Thank you for those kind international reviews.
You're showing me up on those
What do you
those
mean?
reviews. Every time someone does that, I'm like, oh, they just look like they hit their keyboard. I don't read all that.
So kayfabe name, thank you. GT not gonna work here anymore. Not gonna get a shout out from us. What do you got?
I got a couple of military shout outs. Liam St. John, active duty Marine, and Michael Brown, Army veteran. He also sent us some stuff, so we should look in a military base. Conspiracies might make a good show.
So what? The fucking
Kinda fun.
Fed shut us down and censor us and have us assassinated? I don't think so, Michael Brown. Oh, that'd be cool. I'd look into that.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
A lot of interesting things going on, apparently. So thank you for your service. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Good stuff. All right, we got anything else to talk about tonight?
I think we're good. I think we're going to watch some of this slap fighting a little more.
Yeah, I don't know how long this is on for, but my God, they're fucking hitting the shit out of each other. 1, 2, 3. Oh, he fucking knocked him out. He's out cold. He's out.
Oh my!
He's out cold. No. He's trying to do the Undertaker sit up. He can't do it. Somebody stop the damn match.
This is ridiculous.
This is insane. Call the match. He's not going to make the clock. That's it. That's game. Calling it off. No,
He's like,
buddy.
What?
Buddy.
Jesus.
Dana White's like, money. Money. All right. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Necronomapod. Patreon.com/search Necronomapod. We're on Amazon, search Necronomapod, and we are on Spring for merch that includes what? Posters, mugs, socks,
Wine tumblers.
all that fun stuff.
There's no socks, but
No, we did.
The other
Okay,
stuff.
never mind the socks. Oops. So, anyways, check us out. Thanks.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
cheers.